The air tasted wrong. Calvier, first guard of the Crimson Throne, noticed it the moment the shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere. A metallic tang, sharp against her secondary palate, the sensor organ that had kept her ancestors alive in the poison swamps of Vector Prime. Her hand moved to her ceremonial blade, fingers tracing the grip through muscle memory alone. Defensive perimeter, she murmured into her comm. The Royal Guard moved as one organism, a flowing circle of armored bodies forming around Queen Sarethsva. Their monarch stood at the observation portal, watching the human academy grow larger below. The facility sprawled across a mountain plateau, its architecture deliberately primitive, stone and metal instead of adaptive nanomaterials. "Your Majesty," Calvier said quietly, "perhaps we should delay the inspection." Sarethsva's third eyelid flickered, the Vectaran equivalent of a smile. "You sense it too. Chemical signatures in the upper atmosphere. Weapon discharge residue. 3 hours old, perhaps 4. The humans assured us their training facilities were secure. The humans assure us many things. The shuttle touched down on a landing pad scarred with burn marks. Fresh ones. Calvier's tactical implant cataloged 7 different energy signatures, none matching standard Earth military hardware." Her mandibles tightened. Ambassador Chen waited at the base of the ramp, his diplomatic smile too wide, too fixed. Sweat glistened on his forehead despite the cool mountain air. "Your Majesty, First Guard, welcome to Advanced Tactical Academy 7. We're honored. What happened here?" Calvier cut through the pleasantries like a blade through silk. Chen's smile faltered for precisely 0.3 seconds. "I'm sorry?" "The scorch marks. The weapons discharge. The fear pheromones you're currently secreting." Sarethva placed one clawed hand on Calvier's shoulder. Gentle pressure but absolute in its command. The first guard went silent. "Ambassador Chen," the Queen said softly, "we are here to observe your youth combat training protocols. If there has been an incident, diplomatic courtesy requires transparency." Chen swallowed. "There was an unauthorized drill. Nothing that concerns the inspection schedule. This way, please." They walked through corridors lined with student quarters. Human children watched from doorways, some no older than 10 cycles. Their eyes tracked the alien visitors with the calculating stillness Calvier associated with soldiers, not students. The chemical wrongness grew stronger. Her tactical implant began painting threat assessments across her vision, ghost red warnings that made her jaw ache with tension. The observation gallery overlooked a massive training arena. Below, 200 human students stood in perfect formation, ages ranging from juveniles to late adolescents. They wore minimal armor, leather and ballistic cloth, nothing energy shielded. Primitive weapons hung at their sides. "Your military academies begin recruitment remarkably young," Sarethva observed. "We prefer the term educational preparation," Chen said quickly. "The students volunteer." The lights died. Calvier had her blade drawn before the emergency generators kicked in. The Royal Guard closed ranks, energy shields humming to life. In the sudden crimson emergency lighting, Chen's face had gone the color of old bone. "What is this?" Sarethva's voice remained calm, but Calvier heard the edge beneath. In the arena below, the students hadn't moved. They stood in absolute silence, heads raised, watching the observation gallery. "I need to make a call," Chen said, his voice breaking. The emergency klaxon started screaming. Calvier's tactical implant exploded with warnings. Unknown energy signatures, multiple contacts, moving fast through the facility's outer corridors. The thermal patterns didn't match any species in the galactic database. "Breach," she said. "Eastern perimeter, 50 contacts. Western perimeter, 70. They're surrounding us." "Who?" Sarafov demanded. Chen was backing toward the exit, his diplomatic composure shattered. "The Krevnash. The raid 3 hours ago. We thought we'd repelled them. But they were just probing our defenses. They want the hybrid technology, the genetic databases. You brought us to an active war zone." Calvier's voice could have etched steel. "We didn't know they'd come back. The students were supposed to be evacuated, but the transport was delayed. The gallery window exploded inward." Calvier threw herself in front of Sarethva as 3 Krevnash warriors crashed through the reinforced glass. They were nightmares given form, exoskeletal bodies covered in bioorganic armor, compound eyes glowing with predatory intelligence, blade limbs dripping with predatory intelligence. The Royal Guard met them with precision violence. Energy weapons crackled. Blades sang. The Krevnash fought with the efficiency of hive minds, each movement coordinated with its packmates. In the arena below, the students still hadn't moved. Kelvir cut down the nearest Krevnash, her blade finding the gap between armor plates. Acidic blood sprayed across her arm, eating through her ceremonial sleeve. She ignored the pain, already moving to intercept the second warrior. That's when she heard it, a voice from the arena floor. Young, female. Cutting through the chaos with absolute clarity. 7th protocol. Execute now. The students exploded into motion. They moved like nothing Kelvir had ever seen. Not soldiers, not trained warriors, but something else entirely. The formations dissolved and reformed in patterns her tactical implant couldn't predict. Children armed with primitive weapons engaged Krevnash warriors pouring through the arena's lower entrances, and they were winning. A girl, no more than 15 cycles, stood at the center of the chaos. She didn't carry a weapon. She simply watched, her eyes tracking hundreds of moving pieces, her voice calling out instructions in rapid-fire bursts. 3rd squad collapse left. 9th, hold center for 4 seconds, then scatter. Someone give me a pressure point on the eastern breach. The Krevnash were dying. Not from superior firepower or advanced technology, but from tactics that seemed to defy logic. The students fought in ways that made Kelvir's veteran instincts scream warnings, exposing weak points, breaking formation, leaving themselves vulnerable. But each apparent mistake was a trap. Each weakness was bait. A Krevnash warrior lunged for the girl giving orders. She didn't move, didn't flinch. 3 students appeared from nowhere, their timing so perfect they moved as one organism. The Krevnash went down in a spray of its own blood. The girl turned her head, made direct eye contact with Queen Sarathva through the shattered observation window, and smiled. Status, Sarathva commanded, her voice carrying over the fading sounds of battle. Kelvir wiped Krevnash blood from her blade, her tactical implant still processing what she'd witnessed. The arena floor was littered with enemy corpses. Not one student had fallen. Several were wounded. She could see makeshift tourniquets and pressure bandages, but none dead. Against a Krevnash hunting pack. Perimeter secured, one of her guards reported. No additional contacts. The enemy force has been eliminated. All of them? Sarathva asked quietly. Yes, Your Majesty. 217 confirmed kills. 63 by our forces. The rest, the guard gestured toward the arena floor, where children stood among the bodies of professional killers, breathing hard but standing tall. Ambassador Chen had vanished during the fighting. Kelvir made a mental note to locate him later. Right now, her attention fixed on the girl who'd coordinated the impossible. She was walking toward the observation gallery, climbing the debris pile where the window had been. Up close, Kelvir could see she was even younger than first assessment, perhaps 13 cycles. Dark hair pulled back in a practical braid, eyes that belonged to someone 5 times her age. Ambassador Chen left a security override code, the girl said without preamble. You're safe to come down now. My name is Mira Santos, tactical coordinator for Class 7 Gamma. Sarathva studied the child with the intensity she usually reserved for foreign dignitaries. You command those students? Command is a strong word. I coordinated it. They're good at following through. Mira glanced back at the arena. But we should clear the bodies before the delayed transport arrives. The younger kids shouldn't have to see this. Younger? Kelvir couldn't keep the edge from her voice. You're a child yourself. I'm 13 years and 7 months old, if that's what you mean. Mira's tone remained professionally neutral. But I've been training at this facility since I was 8. Most of us have. Training for what? Sarathva descended carefully through the broken window. Kalvar moved to block her, but the queen waved her aside. What exactly is this place? Mira's expression flickered, something that might have been uncertainty in someone less controlled. According to official records, Advanced Tactical Academy 7 is an experimental program for gifted students showing aptitude in strategic thinking and military logistics. And unofficially, we're what happens when humanity realizes we're not alone in the universe and we're not the strongest species. Mira met the Queen's eyes without flinching, or the contingency plan. The arena had already begun. Students worked in efficient teams, categorizing Krevnash weapons, documenting tactical data, treating the wounded. No one spoke unnecessarily, no one panicked. They moved with the calm efficiency of seasoned soldiers, wearing the faces of children. Kelvir's tactical implant pinged. Incoming transmission, military encryption, human origin. She accepted the connection and immediately regretted it. The voice was Colonel Vance, the Academy's director. "First Guard, I need to speak with Her Majesty immediately. Classified channels only." "The Queen will decide. Tell her the Krevnash weren't here by accident. Someone told them about the inspection." "Someone wanted them to attack while she was on site." A pause. "Someone wanted to see how the students would respond." The implications hit like a physical blow. Kelvir looked at Mira Santos, who stood calmly waiting for the Queen's next question, and wondered if she was looking at a warrior or a weapon. "Your Majesty," Kelvir said quietly, "we should return to the shuttle. Now." But Saratha was watching the students work, her analytical mind clearly processing dozens of strategic calculations. These children defeated a Krevnash strike force using primitive weapons and unconventional tactics. My own honor guard struggled against 3 warriors. They eliminated over 100. "They're human," Mira said simply. "We've had to get creative." "Creative?" Saratha's mandibles clicked, the Vectran equivalent of a bitter laugh. "Is that what you call it? What would you call it?" "Terrifying." The word hung in the air. Mira didn't react, but Calvir saw something shift in her posture. A subtle relaxation, as if a feared judgment had finally arrived and proved survivable. "We're not trying to be scary," Mira said. "We're trying to survive in a galaxy that has a 10,000-year head start on military technology. Tactics and adaptation are the only advantages we have." "And you learned this at 13 cycles?" "I learned the basics at 8. By 10, I could run small unit tactical simulations. By 12, they let me coordinate live exercises." Mira's voice remained matter-of-fact, but Kelvir detected something beneath the professional veneer, a weariness that shouldn't exist in someone so young. "This was my first real combat situation. I hope it'll be my last, but I doubt it." Saratha descended fully into the arena, ignoring Kelvir's protective instincts. She walked among the students, who paused briefly to acknowledge her presence before returning to their work. The Queen stopped beside a body, a Krevnash warrior killed by multiple precise strikes to its neural clusters. "These are professional soldiers," she said quietly. "Krevnash hunting packs trained for years in live combat zones. They have conquered 17 systems. Their casualty records show survival rates of 93% against equivalent forces." "We're aware," Mira said. "We studied their tactics for 6 months after they first appeared in Earth's sector." 6 months? Saratha turned, her compound eyes reflecting the emergency lighting. "You're children. You should be studying mathematics and art. Playing games, not analyzing xenocide tactics. We do study mathematics. That's how we calculated the optimal collapse patterns. And art visual recognition training is essential for identifying threat patterns." Mira gestured toward the arena walls, where intricate murals depicted alien species from dozens of worlds. "Everything here serves dual purpose. We can't afford inefficiency." Calvir's cum pinged again. This time, multiple channels simultaneously. Emergency protocols reserved for existential threats. First Guard. It was her second-in-command, voice tight with controlled fear. "Long-range sensors are detecting additional Krevnash ships entering orbit. 50 vessels. They're not hunting packs. They're a full invasion fleet." The arena went silent. Every student had stopped moving, their enhanced hearing picking up the transmission. Mira turned to face Saratha. "Your Majesty, I need to ask you a direct question, and I need you to answer honestly." Calvir moved to intercept, but Saratha raised her hand. "Ask, does your ship have offensive capabilities?" "Limited." "Our vessel is ceremonial, but it has shields." "Point defense systems?" "Yes." Mira nodded slowly, her mind clearly racing through calculations. "And your honor guard? They're trained for ship-to-ship combat? Some of the finest warriors in the Crimson Throne's military? Then I need to propose something that's going to sound completely insane." Mira looked around the arena, making eye contact with several students. They nodded in silent agreement. "We need to evacuate the academy immediately. The Krevnash invasion force will level this facility within minutes of entering engagement range. But if we can get the students onto your ship—" "Absolutely not," Kelvir said. "We're not turning a diplomatic vessel into a refugee transport. I'm not asking you to." Mira's voice hardened. "I'm asking you to turn it into a weapon." Saratha went very still. "Explain." "Your ship has superior technology, but you're outnumbered 50-1. In a conventional engagement, you'll be overwhelmed within minutes. But if you let us coordinate your tactical systems, if you combine your technology with our strategies, we might have a chance. You want to command my ship?" Kelvier's hand went to her blade. That's beyond insane. That's the only way any of us survive. Mira's calm cracked, just for a moment, and Kelvier glimpsed the terrified child beneath the tactical coordinator. Please, we're good at this. I know how it looks, but we're good at this. Let us help. The emergency klaxons began screaming again. New contacts entering the atmosphere, dropships, dozens of them, descending toward the academy from multiple vectors. Serithva looked at Kelvier. In that moment, the first guard saw her queen calculating possibilities, weighing honor against survival, protocol against necessity. Evacuation protocols, Serithva commanded. All students to the shuttle. You have 3 minutes. The arena exploded into motion. Students sprinted toward the exits, moving in organized waves that avoided congestion. Maintained spacing, kept the youngest protected in the center. Mira barked orders in rapid succession, directing flow, adjusting for the wounded, ensuring no one was left behind. Calvert grabbed Mira's shoulder as she started to follow. If this is a trick, if you endanger my queen, then you can kill me yourself, Mira said simply. But right now, we're on the same side. Focus on that. The shuttle was built to carry 20 passengers in comfort. They packed in 97 students plus the Royal Guard, bodies pressed against bodies, children sitting in corners and clinging to support rails. The youngest, barely 8 cycles old, were held by older students, their faces pressed against shoulders to block out the sound of dropships screaming overhead. Through the viewport, Kaelver watched the Krevnash vessels descend. Massive bioorganic ships that moved like living things, their hulls rippling with hostile intent. Serithva stood at the pilot console, her hands moving across alien controls with practiced ease. Transit to orbit in 30 seconds. Defensive shields at maximum. They'll track us, Mira said. She stood beside the Queen, her small frame barely reaching Serithva's shoulder, but her voice carried absolute certainty. They'll see an alien vessel fleeing the attack site and assume we're carrying valuable targets. They'll pursue? That's your plan? Kelvier demanded. To make ourselves bait? That's part of it. Mira had produced a tablet, fingers flying across its surface. Data streams cascaded, tactical projections, energy consumption models, probability matrices. Your ship's weapons are designed for precision strikes, not sustained combat. But precision is what we need. We can't outfight them. We have to outsmart them. The shuttle lurched as main engines engaged. Through the viewport, the academy fell away. A fortress built to train human survival, now about to be reduced to rubble. One of the younger children began crying. An older student, maybe 16 cycles, immediately covered the child's mouth, whispering something that made them go quiet. Not comfort, Kelvier realized with cold shock. A tactical necessity. Silence was survival. Orbital insertion in 10 seconds, Serithva announced. Krevnash vessels are pursuing. 8 ships breaking formation to engage. 8. Mira's voice remained calm. That's actually better than expected. They're arrogant. They think we're easy prey. We are easy prey, Kelvier said. 8 Krevnash warships against 1 ceremonial vessel. Not if we cheat. The shuttle broke atmosphere. Stars filled the viewport. Beautiful, indifferent, eternal. And among them, the shapes of hostile vessels moving with predatory grace. Mira tapped her tablet, sending data directly to the shuttle's navigation systems. Serithva studied the information for precisely 2 seconds before her mandibles tightened. This course takes us through the asteroid belt. Navigation at these speeds is nearly impossible for automated systems, Mira agreed. But I'm very good at real-time calculation. And your pilot has reflexes faster than human standard. We can thread it. And if we can't, then we die slightly faster than the alternative. Mira looked up at the Queen. Your choice, Your Majesty. Conventional tactics lead to certain death. My way gives us maybe a 30% survival probability. Sereva's third eyelid flickered. First guard, strap in. Everyone else, secure to crash webbing. This is going to be unpleasant. The shuttle screamed toward the asteroid belt at velocities that made Kaelvir's inner ears scream in protest. Behind them, the Krevnash warships followed like patient predators, not bothering to fire. Why waste ammunition when the asteroids would do the work? They think we're panicking, Mira observed, watching the pursuit on tactical displays. They think we chose this course out of fear, not strategy. Did we? Kaelvir asked through gritted teeth as the shuttle rolled narrowly, avoiding a tumbling rock the size of a building. Yes and no. The fear is real. But I calculated this path 3 weeks ago during routine tactical exercises. I knew if the Academy was ever compromised, we'd need an escape route that used terrain against superior firepower. Sarethva banked hard left, engine screaming. You planned an escape through an asteroid field at 13 cycles old? I planned 17 different escapes. This one had the highest survival probability for evacuating large groups. Mira's fingers never stopped moving across her tablet. Take 30 degrees starboard in 3 seconds. 2, 1. Now, the shuttle danced through gaps that shouldn't exist. Sarethva's piloting was extraordinary. Reflexes that made decisions in microseconds. Adjustments so precise they seemed to predict the asteroid's movement. Behind them, the Krevnash warships followed with equal skill. Until Mira's real plan became clear. Fire control, target the asteroid at coordinates I'm sending. Not the Krevnash ships, the asteroid. K.L. Veer studied the tactical display. That rock is 0.7 kilometers in diameter. Our weapons won't destroy it. I don't need it destroyed. I need it cracked along existing fault lines. Your weapons are precise enough for that.
Understanding hit like cold water.
Kalvir pulled up geological scans of the targeted asteroid. Ancient, riddled with stress fractures from eons of micro-impacts. A precisely placed energy strike wouldn't destroy it. It would shatter it into thousands of high-velocity fragments, directly in the pursuing ship's path. Sarethva fired without hesitation. The asteroid bloomed like a lethal flower, its components spreading across dozens of kilometers in seconds. The lead Krevnash warship tried to evade, tried to shield itself. It failed. The vessel disappeared in a cloud of impacts that overwhelmed its bioorganic armor. The ships behind scattered, their formation breaking as they prioritized survival over pursuit. 7 left, Mira said calmly. Next target in 40 seconds. This one's bigger. Same principle. They executed the pattern 3 more times. Each asteroid carefully chosen, each strike precisely calculated. The Krevnash adapted, spreading their formation, approaching from multiple vectors, but the adaptation came too slowly. By the time they understood the trap, only 4 ships remained. They're going to break off, Mira predicted. Their tactical doctrine emphasizes preservation of force over revenge kills. When casualties exceed 60%, they withdraw. You studied their doctrine? Sareth asked. Everyone at the Academy studies their doctrine. That's what the Krevnash don't understand. They see humans and think we're weak because we're young species. But being young means we remember what it's like to face extinction. They've been apex predators for so long they've forgotten how prey learns to bite back. The remaining Krevnash ships broke formation, accelerating away from the engagement zone. Victory, if it could be called that. Survival, at least. Sarethva set course for deep space away from both the Academy and the invasion fleet. In the cargo bay, students were tending to the wounded with field medical skills that rivaled professional combat medics. The youngest children had fallen asleep, exhausted by terror and the crash of post-combat adrenaline. Mira Santos stood at the viewport, watching the stars pass. Without the tactical crisis demanding her attention, she looked like what she was, a 13-year-old child who just orchestrated the destruction of multiple warships and evacuation of her entire academy. Her hands were shaking. Sarethva approached slowly, her movements deliberately non-threatening. You saved us all. Maybe. Mira didn't look away from the viewport. Or maybe I just delayed the inevitable. The Krevnash won't stop. They never stop. That's what makes them so dangerous. Neither do humans, apparently. That earned a ghost of a smile. We're good at being stubborn. It's not always a virtue. Mira, Sarethva said quietly, what you did today, coordinating 200 students against a professional military force, planning escape routes through asteroid fields, using my ship's weapons with greater efficiency than my own tactical officers. These are not the actions of a child. I know. The words came out barely above a whisper. Sometimes I don't feel like a child anymore. Sometimes I wake up and forget what it was like before the academy, before the training, before I learned that the galaxy is full of things that want to kill us. She finally turned to face the Queen. I'm 13 years and 7 months old. I should be worried about homework and friends and normal things. Instead, I'm calculating kill ratios and optimal casualty management protocols. Did you choose this? Does it matter? I'm good at it. The academy saw that early. They gave me resources, training, responsibility. By the time I was old enough to understand what I was becoming, I was already there. Mira's voice cracked slightly. Someone has to do this. Someone has to figure out how humans survive in a galaxy where we're outclassed in every category except tactical adaptation. If not me, then someone else. Another child who will lose their childhood the same way. Sarethva was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out, placing one clawed hand gently on Mira's shoulder. In my culture, we have a concept, shavek. It means a burden that is both chosen and necessary. The weight that must be carried because no one else can. That's a depressing concept, yes. But it also means you are not alone in carrying it. Every species in the Galactic Council has faced this moment. The realization that survival requires sacrifice. Some sacrifice their ethics. Others sacrifice their culture. Humanity appears to be sacrificing its children's innocence. Is that a criticism? It's an observation and a warning. Sarethva's grip tightened slightly. The path your species is walking is dangerous, not because of external threats, but because of what you must become to face them. These students, this academy, you are creating something extraordinary. But extraordinary does not always mean good.
I know.
Mira looked back at the cargo bay where students slept against each other, their faces peaceful in rest despite the violence they'd survived. We're supposed to be the contingency plan, the secret weapon. But sometimes I think we're just scared kids pretending to be soldiers. You are both. That's what makes you terrifying. Calvir approached, her expression grim. Your Majesty, we have a situation. Multiple human military vessels are converging on our position. They're demanding we surrender custody of the Academy students immediately. They think we're kidnapping them, Mira said. Standard protocol. Any evacuation of Academy assets requires military oversight. They don't trust alien vessels to transport us. Even after we saved you, especially after you saved us, it means you've seen what we can do. That makes you a security risk. Mira's tactical mind was clearly engaged again, working through implications.
They'll want to debrief us.
Analyze the engagement. Figure out what information we compromised. You are children, Sarethva said, her voice hardening. They should be protecting you, not treating you as assets. We're both, remember? You said it yourself. The comm system crackled to life. Colonel Vance's voice, clipped and professional. Unidentified alien vessel, this is UES Sentinel. Reduce speed and prepare to be boarded. Failure to comply will be interpreted as hostile action. Calvir's hand moved to her weapon. They're threatening us? After we rescued their students? They're protecting their investment, Mira said quietly. We're not really students. We're weapons that happen to look like children. And you've just demonstrated that you know how to use us. Sarethva studied the tactical display, watching human warships move into intercept positions. Her mandibles clicked, not in amusement this time, but in something darker. First guard, open a channel. Let me speak with this Colonel Vance. The connection established immediately. Vance's face appeared on the display, a human male, perhaps 50 cycles, with the hard eyes of someone who'd made difficult decisions. Your Majesty, he said with minimal courtesy, I need those students returned immediately. They are children who witnessed an invasion and survived through their own competence. I believe galactic law is clear about protection of refugees. They are classified military assets engaged in experimental training protocols. Their presence aboard your vessel constitutes a security breach. They are 13 cycles old. They are weapons. Vance's expression didn't change. Weapons that you now know how to utilize. I can't let you leave this system with that knowledge. The threat was implicit but absolute. Calvir's tactical implant began painting targeting solutions on the approaching warships. They were outmatched, outgunned, and surrounded. Mira stepped forward, placing herself directly in front of the comm display. Colonel, this is Tactical Coordinator Santos. Request permission to address the situation. Vance's hard expression softened microscopically. Coordinator Santos. Glad to see you survived. Yes, proceed. Sir, Queen Sarethva and her honor guard rescued 97 students from certain death. They adapted to tactical suggestions from a 13-year-old human, trusted our judgment over their own military protocols, and successfully evacuated us while under pursuit by superior forces. They demonstrated the kind of cross-species cooperation the Academy was designed to enable. That's a very optimistic interpretation. It's the accurate one. The alternative interpretation is that humanity just threatened an allied diplomatic vessel for performing a humanitarian rescue, which would destroy decades of carefully built political relationships. Mira's voice remained calm, but Calvir heard the steel underneath. We're supposed to be preparing for humanity's survival in a hostile galaxy. That includes knowing when to trust our allies. Silence on the comm. Calvir could imagine the calculations happening behind Vance's eyes. Strategic priorities, political implications, the weight of protocols against the reality of the situation. The students returned to military custody immediately, Vance said finally. Her Majesty and her guard are thanked for their assistance. We will arrange transfer within the hour. Understood, sir. The connection terminated. Sarethva turned to Mira, her compound eyes reflecting something that might have been respect. You defended us. You saved us first. That's how alliances work, right? Reciprocal obligation? Very diplomatic for a 13-year-old. I study that too. Everything serves dual purpose, remember? The transfer happened on a human military station orbiting Earth. Students filed out of the shuttle in the same organized formations they'd used during the evacuation. Efficient, disciplined, showing no weakness to the watching officers. But Calvir noticed small things. The way older students kept hands on younger ones' shoulders. The careful spacing that allowed anyone feeling overwhelmed to step back without losing face. The quiet murmurs of reassurance passed through ranks. Mira was the last to leave. She paused at the shuttle's exit ramp, looking back at Sarethva. Your Majesty, can I ask you something? Of course. When you watched us fight the Krevnash, when you saw what we did, were you impressed or horrified? Sarethva considered the question with the seriousness it deserved. Both. And I suspect humanity should be more concerned with the second response than comforted by the first. That's what I thought. Mira straightened her shoulders, settling back into the tactical coordinator persona. Thank you for the honesty, and for saving us. She walked away, joining her fellow students, disappearing into the military complex that would debrief them, analyze them, prepare them for the next crisis. Just children who happened to carry the weight of humanity's survival on their shoulders. Calvir watched until the last student vanished. Then she turned to her queen. We should report this to the Galactic Council. The humans are weaponizing their young. That violates at least 17 interstellar treaties. Does it? Sareth asked. I've reviewed the Academy's official documentation, the students volunteer. They're provided education, resources, and care. The training is presented as academic enrichment. That's semantic manipulation, yes, but technically legal? The Queen moved back toward the shuttle's command deck. Prepare for departure. We have much to consider. Your Majesty, humans are creating child soldiers. We have a moral obligation. To do what, First Guard?
Condemn them?
They face the same threats we all face. The Krevnash don't care that humanity is young. The raiders in the frontier systems don't care that Earth has limited military resources. Humanity is adapting the only way they can, using their greatest strength, which is they learn faster than anyone else. They adapt to threats while the rest of us are still analyzing them, and they're willing to sacrifice what others won't. Sarethva's voice held something Calvir had never heard before. Uncertainty. That girl, Mira Santos, she's 13 cycles old and she fights like a veteran warrior. She thinks like a strategic admiral. She carries herself like someone who's accepted that death is an acceptable outcome if it achieves tactical objectives. That should terrify us. It does. But it also means that when the next existential threat arrives, and it will, humanity might be the species that figures out how to survive it. Sarethva activated the shuttle's engines, the hum of power systems filling the cabin. We're watching them create weapons out of children, but perhaps from their perspective, they're giving those children the only gift they can, a chance to fight back. The shuttle departed, leaving the military station behind. Through the viewport, Calvir watched Earth shrink to a blue-green sphere. Somewhere on that world, in facilities hidden behind official denials and diplomatic language, children learned to be warriors. They studied alien tactics, practiced impossible strategies, prepared themselves to face threats that should be beyond their comprehension. She thought of Mira Santos, 13 years and 7 months old, who'd coordinated the evacuation of 97 students while simultaneously planning tactical engagements against superior forces, who'd looked at an alien queen and asked not for rescue or comfort, but for permission to turn a diplomatic vessel into a weapon, who'd defended her rescuers with diplomatic language, learned alongside weapon tactics, who'd walked away wearing the face of a child and carrying the weight of a soldier. First Guard, Sarethva said quietly. You asked if I was impressed or horrified. Yes, Your Majesty, I'm both. But mostly, I'm grateful we're allies and not enemies. Because if humanity ever decides the galaxy is their threat instead of their home... She trailed off, her mandibles clicking softly. I suspect they'd find a way to win, and I suspect it would be terrifying to watch. Calvier thought of 200 students standing in perfect formation, armed with primitive weapons, facing professional killers. She thought of their calm faces, their disciplined movements, their absolute competence. She thought of Mira Santos, smiling at a queen through a shattered window, covered in alien blood, already planning the next tactical necessity. And she agreed with her queen's assessment completely. The galaxy had many threats, but humanity, adapting and learning and willing to sacrifice everything for survival, might be the most dangerous one of all. Not because they were strong, but because they refused to lose, no matter what the cost.